Hola, why didn't I see you, man? Well,
I
actually,
can't
not
see you
you. Why
either.
didn't I see myself?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There you
Oh,
go. Can you hear me?
what's up, brother? I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, okay. Clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, perfect. Otherwise, how's it
Yeah.
going, man?
Chill, man. I can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Oh, that's good, man. Otherwise, how did the day go today?
it was cool. It was cool. I was working on the onboarding app, so I'm making some progress there. So yeah, hopefully I can finish it by the end of the sprint. So yeah. And yourself?
Things was good today. It was more on the chill side, you know. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Got a few things
Yeah.
done. I actually joined that AWS Africa Day. There was
Oh,
an
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was an online summit. Yeah, so they were just talking
Yeah.
about a few things in terms of, you know, from an enterprise perspective and things from, you know, just anyone that would really like to start using AWS
Yeah.
in Africa
Yeah.
for the branch that they have in in Cape Town, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, I think you know what. Let's keep going. Let's not waste any more time.
Okay.
Um, Hi Charity. Hi Mdaki. Hope you guys are good. So tonight's topic is the fourth industrial revolution. It's actually our third episode of our first season, and we have taken it, you know, this far, and it has been an amazing journey so far. And you know, we really have come a long way. So to kick it off, as I was saying, we are going to talk about the fourth industrial revolution, and you know, for everyone in the comments, please feel free to join in and give us your thoughts and let us know what you think. And also, you know, for you, what do you think things will be like going forward regarding the fourth industrial revolution? And tonight, I'm joined by Tisetso Manne. Tisetso, thank you, man. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man. Always a privilege and an honor to be on your live. And I'm definitely looking forward to tonight. And hopefully it's a success as usual.
Yes, no, definitely, man, definitely. So you know, just from the beginning, I mean, let's just take it back a bit to a
Yeah.
few centuries back, actually, to the first industrial revolution. But before we get into it, I just want to know from you, I mean, what comes to mind, or what do you think of the an industrial revolution just on its own?
So I guess the Industrial Revolution, from my understanding, is when machines or technology starts changing how we actually effectively work and do things in the world of business, in our society. So, like it said, it's a revolution and it changes the way things operate going forward. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my 2 cents. We'll operate from it.
No, definitely, I agree. And you know, when we look at the first industrial revolution, I mean, it's something that started, I mean, centuries ago, and this was during the 17th century, you know, during the 1700s, and
Yeah.
it just boggles the mind that actually it's not just something new that someone has just come up with and you know just said the fourth industrial revolution. Actually, there's been centuries of different types of industrial revolutions and that have changed the different ways that we live and actually put food in our mouths and you know make our jobs.
Mm. No, and essentially what the first industrial revolution represented was a way in which people's standard of living changed because now they moved to closer to factories, and having moved to the factories, they were able to now perform at a more efficient level, you know, because of the machines that they were using. So it was a
Yeah,
transition into a new way of process of manufacturing of the manufacturing process, and people started becoming more effective and efficient in terms of how they started doing business and working. I mean, it's essentially initially people started were creating their own textiles and farming on their own. But now the machines now effectively just changed how they started working and doing things. So it was an
Yeah.
incredible time for to be alive.
And I mean, the first industrial revolution, I mean, it started off in Europe, and specifically in Britain. And,
Yeah,
they were known for the big manufacturing. And surprisingly enough, today, actually, they're still one of the biggest manufacturers, So over the centuries, they've actually
yeah,
had front foot in terms of manufacturing. And I mean, we know that they started off very early with the manufacturing of different types of things, from like your wool, and your coal, and they eventually
yeah,
like moved on to like steam engines. And when things changed, I mean, it was just all about how people move from, and which links with the second industrial revolution, but that the the jump between that is that people move from doing things with their hands to now
yeah.
actually moving from their homes where they used to work from and move to the cities to now start working there because there was more demand there.
Yeah, yeah. No, true. And you also mentioned the steam engine. So the steam engine, what it represented was them to be able to travel at a larger distance as well. So, away from using carriages and all those things, now they could start using trains and ships to start moving and traveling. So yeah, the first industrial revolution was quite a significant event to even what we have at the moment right now. And we'll see that as we go through the timeline of the Industrial Revolution. And particularly, I like the second Industrial Revolution because it ties in so nicely with this third Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was actually very interesting because when you move to the end of the first industrial revolution, going to the
yeah,
second, I mean, that was around the 19th century. And
yeah,
that change where now there were more advanced machinery that were assisting workers to do their job more efficiently, and actually even do production even quicker, instead of things taking too much time. But I think the interesting thing there is that actually there was a lot of resistance against that specifically, because they found themselves at a point where they were actually burning down the factories that they worked at actually at that time. And because I mean they
yeah,
felt like these new advanced machinery are now actually taking away our jobs and are actually now competing with them. So it's
yeah.
funny to see that actually the resistance that we are going through now is actually something that was happening already in the 19th century.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind early, just quickly, is that how the Uber drivers were striking against, I'm sorry, the meter taxi drivers were striking against the Uber drivers because now this was a new technology that was coming in and it's a foreign thing. And like we said the other time, is that technology or new changes rather
Mm.
are faced with kind of rejection of a way. So um, it's an interesting way to look at it because people are fearful of change at times, and
Yeah.
adopting something that's it's not always the easiest thing to do. So yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean things, and they moved from the dependency on your coal, and too much on your wool in terms of the things that were sold a lot at the time. Now you had things coming into the picture like
Yeah,
your petroleum and your electricity. I mean, that's when electricity started coming in, and then your internal
yeah,
combustion engines started kicking out the different,
yeah,
what do you call, steam trains and everything. So there was that massive
yeah,
shift around the different sectors of the market. And I know there was actually a small, change between the because I know there was actually an agricultural revolution. So they're divided into different categories, you could say. Let me just see here. We have a question. Do
Okay.
you think we will ever look at any form of revolution positively at first glance, or will our fear of change always overpower the acceptance? Um,
Yeah.
I think always the we'll always have the resistance. Um, and I think it's one of those things that are linked to human nature. Because we most of the time get caught off guard, and we realize that, okay, what is about to happen is actually going to affect me directly. And we find ourselves in a position where we are so comfortable that we are not willing to adapt and, change with the times. So I believe that we always going to find ourselves having more resistance first and then adapting later. I don't know what you think, Tisit.
Yeah, I think generally it's very subjective to say what you believe in terms of how technology affects people. There are those who believe that just a revolution is a good thing, and we are going to improve our standard of living and just general way of living of life. And there are people who feel that I mean, these technologies might even take away my job or my way of life. So
Yeah,
I guess it's like I said, it's subjective, and it's more of an opinion on a person, and you will always have both sides to the story. You can always
yeah,
have things going like 100% in one favoring one way. So I guess for me, in my own opinion, I'm very optimistic about what technology can do. Having found myself in the technology industry as well, I've been able to see what it can do and change people's lives as well. So, no, definitely.
yeah. No, no, no,
Yeah.
definitely. And I think it's gonna be a thing where we will need to get used to change first of all, and we will always need to
Yeah.
prepare ourselves for what could happen and or where the world is moving, and because we find ourselves in a
Yeah.
position where we always react later, and then by the time we actually react, that specific
Yeah.
industry now it's too jam-packed, and you find yourself where you're outside of that industry when before you were the one in
Yeah.
that industry. So it's one of
Yeah.
those things that we just need to um, make the right decisions very early on. And that
Yeah.
brings us actually into the third industrial revolution, where now, I mean, this is where now the digital revolution started. And,
Yes.
your internet, your digital devices,
Yeah.
software, and different things. And I don't know, according to you, do you think that, the digital age and era is long gone, or we still trying to get a hold of it?
I think there are countries that are still in the digital era. We spoke earlier on about how the first industrial revolution brought about being able to mine gold and things like diamonds. But in South Africa, that happened at a very later stage. The industrial revolution happened at a very later stage as compared
Yeah,
to countries. So I think it's a matter of catching up and being able to adapt and being able to see how you can fit in to how things are going and changing in and around you. So, no, definitely, South Africa, in my opinion, we still have a long way to go, and I think we're still kind of in this digital revolution, still in the digital revolution to some extent, yes.
yeah,
Compared to our European predecessors and things.
definitely. And I mean, the digital revolution started, I mean, 1940, which was almost mid the
Yeah,
1900s, just towards the end.
yeah,
And for me, it's like,
yeah,
okay, in our country, digitization became a thing, what, in the last, what, 5, maybe, let's say 8 years. And when you look at
yeah,
how long ago the digital revolution has been around or had started,
yeah,
and obviously influenced by European countries, it's
yeah,
like, okay, we haven't even actually gotten into grasps with it, and we're already in the fourth industrial revolution. And when we look at the simple parts of the our country, we see that even our own governmental areas, they are still not fully fledged digital. And for the fact that a lot of things that we still have to do, like when you go and do your license, when you go and do your your card disk, I mean, there's still a
Yeah.
lot of manual processes. Go post office, for example, how you get things, like photocopy, and then they go do the whole manual process. So for me, it's like, we are still very much behind.
Yeah, no, true, and I think we're still catching up to how the world is adapting. And there's an argument that an industrial revolution is more of a European thing and a European solution to European problems. So we do have our own problems, and African problems need African solutions. So um, is it a tailored solution that will fit all problems? That's a question that still needs to be answered. And so, like I said, we're still lagging behind in terms of the revolution. Not even thinking about the fourth one. We're still kind of, in a way, still dealing with digital changes. So I mean, we're still moving from analog ways of doing things and incorporating digital solutions and technologies. So I think, yeah, we still need to make some progress in that sector. So, but I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful in terms of what can happen and how we can change going forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm still also positive, about everything. I think the worrying thing is
Yeah,
just the progress that things are getting done. And do you think that,
yeah,
because you're saying that most of the changes that come and that we get affected by because of the different countries like your Britain and stuff like that, do you think that
yeah.
we just adopt these changes without us actually diluting them or actually altering them for our specific challenges and
Yeah.
situation here in our country? We just take and adopt.
Yeah, I don't think it's an out of the box solution where you just, one size fits all kind of thing. It's more of a thing where you need to consider some of the challenges that we face as opposed to, the more mature economies that we have. South Africa is still, by consideration, is still a very young democratic country, and we're still
Yeah.
learning how to even manage the resources and share with everyone. So there's that problem there, and I think of a video that I was watching earlier on, and they spoke about how blockchain was supposed to be, one of the saving graces for our country, and just change how we behave, and things like dictatorship and tyrants would be, a thing of a past because of blockchain technology and the transparency there behind that. But it's
Yes.
still we're still here, you know. We're still here. We're still trying to figure out the way in which we can improve our country and our economies. So yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah,
finally, we actually now on the main reason why we're here, the fourth
yeah.
industrial revolution. Do you remember where you were or what you were doing when you first heard about the fourth industrial revolution?
Yeah, I think it was on the radio. I heard it on the radio. And at a later stage where I was working, they had something like magazines that they would put out in the foyer. So I would just grab a magazine and just read through the magazine, and they would just give you things that might be coming in the future. And I read
Yeah.
about the fourth industrial revolution, and I guess it's been an interesting topic for me ever since. And we see things like technologies like your 5G technology that'll just enhance our internet speeds by just incredible speeds. So yeah, no, definitely the fourth industrial revolution rather, is something that I feel is very, very, very important to happen. And also the benefits of it, people speaking of how it might change, how we interact as a society, and just
Mm.
be able to help one another and live more of away from, I guess, not to say capitalistic, but away from the greed and having to take everything for oneself and rather share with everybody and have just a generally more better economy per se. So yeah, that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah. And for me, I think when I try to remember, I can't really remember where I was.
Yeah,
But the vivid thing that I remember is that as soon as I started hearing about it, I was like, okay, what is this thing? And I remember with the time I heard about it or saw it, I saw all these different things like robotics, like artificial intelligence, and I'm like, okay, this is so cool, you know? And I remember I
yeah,
just went on the internet quickly and just to try and see what happens. And I'm like, oh, actually, there's been previous revolutions before. And I was thinking to myself, like, how come I didn't know about the third one when I was maybe in high school or something? Because when you look at the third, that was between 1940 and 2010. That was the digital
yeah,
revolution. Okay, how come I
yeah,
didn't, I wasn't aware. So I think, it was just that change to say, okay, you know what, there's a big thing happening out there. And funny enough, an interesting thing is that I saw on the news a few minutes ago, actually, before our live, that Google started
yeah.
rolling out those balloons that are aimed at providing internet around Africa. And I actually read up on
Okay,
this thing like a few years ago, and it's so interesting to see that they've actually started rolling it out. And so
yeah,
for everyone that's not sure about it, so and I'm not sure if it's this exact one, but what I remember about it is
yeah,
that these balloons will obviously rotate around Africa, and because obviously the balloon won't be standing still under a specific area, the
yeah,
goal is to have so many balloons moving around that there will be constant internet access wherever you go or wherever that balloon moves. And so if you
yeah.
just think about it, so it's just so crazy that we've gotten to the point where we can just get Wi-Fi connection from balloons flying around Africa. So I feel like that was a very, very dope thing to hear, actually.
Yeah, no, true, man. And I guess, it helps with things like the digital divide. I know it's becoming a bit of a theme for us to talk about the digital divide, but it is a reality that we face, it is a reality that we face that people are still, without internet and without access to, proper education and all those things. And I mean, a kid in the village still does not have access to, your Wi-Fi and your smartphones and all those. As we'd say. So, you know, so it's sad, man. It's sad, what is happening, and we talk about people who are should be digitally native, and that's what is required now going forward to be not a digital migrant, but rather a digital native, and being able to understand these technologies from a grassroots level, and being able
Yeah.
to apply yourself going forward. So no, true, man. I hope these new initiatives that are like Google are taking will take us into the right direction. Just to my point I made earlier on about how the fourth industrial revolution might be a way in which we have a better economy and a better a way of living to supply basic needs for people.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
just to get everyone on the live involved here, guys, just let us know there in the comments where
yeah,
you were or what you knew about the fourth industrial revolution the first time you heard it, and tell us your experience so far that you've seen maybe on your phone, on social media, or even in your workplace. So just let us know what kind of experiences you've had that you've noticed ever since hearing about the fourth industrial revolution. So, just to kick off now this part of our session tonight, I think for me, the biggest interesting thing about the fourth industrial revolution is that now we have, 3D printing. And I feel like that is a very, very cool thing because now you can actually print like someone's leg, and like it will just have that realistic look and feel to it.
yeah. No, true. They say that with the fourth industrial revolution, we kind of cannot differentiate what is real, what is virtual, what is digital, and what is biological, So a person's prosthetic leg might look as real as just having it on and nothing being different. So I mean, it's a great time to be alive. We experience these technologies at a greater scale, and like you said, you're able to use things like your 3D printers just to print out bionic limbs and all those things, and just
Yeah.
improve your whole being and your health as well. So
Mm.
no, it's great to see what the fourth industrial revolution represents as well.
Yeah, no,
You know.
definitely. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is bioengineering. And bioengineering is basically robotics meets biology. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's it's people that don't have a specific limb on their body, and a robotic part gets um, put, you not like attached to you, yes, attached to you, and it
yeah,
also gets connected to your nervous system, and it will
yeah,
actually move like your normal hand, you know,
yeah,
it will move like a normal hand. It will, like, whatever you think, just like how you move your fingers, the robot
yeah.
the robot has to move like that. So I think the combination of, biology and engineering is really, really gonna be a game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, not true. I mean, it's just a new lease of life for a person without, legs. A person who's born without, the natural legs, they might not have another chance at life, just because
Mm,
of, these technologies. And another one that we can mention as well is your nanotechnology. How you can create, recreate an object at a molecular level. So maybe you feel like creating food with a machine, you do that. So I always allude to a show that I used to watch. They called the Jetsons, and
mm,
basically they used to use a machine to create food. And I was thinking, well, this is never going to happen. But now
yeah,
with these technologies coming into place, things like those don't seem as impossible as they used to. So
yeah.
it's
Someone just Charity just says, food, and I think food is the one thing that brings us all together, and we can all relate to. I mean, I myself, I love food, so like, if we can get to that point where we can just create food, boy, like, get out.
yeah,
You don't even need to think twice. I'll be there. And we have a question for, let me see, Mdaki's something for us. For me it means a capital intensive economy that helps companies examine output with minimum input. My concern though is, how is it that sustainable in a country that has such high unemployment? My concern is,
yeah.
okay.
So I
So
guess, yeah.
yeah.
No, I guess he's talking about how these economies might have, maximum output with minimum input, but there's still so much unemployment. And I think that's something that we talked about as well, as to say, there is a need for people to kind of always upskill themselves as well. And it's a tricky situation that we find ourselves in, because we still have an economy that's still maturing. We still have an economy that has not created these jobs of the future as yet. And also, we have not educated our people as much as we have had to. Um,
Mm,
the education system is still kind of lagging behind in terms of what is happening globally, what is to match up to what's needed for the. So it's a bit of a sad situation that we find ourselves in, where there's so much high unemployment in our country. But like I said earlier, I'm still a bit optimistic in terms of what can happen going into the future. and how we can improve our country and our economy just going forward. So now always optimistic about that.
Yeah, and Mdaki, actually, and this is something we actually discussed in our second episode, and it was about the disruption of technology, and we touched on the fact of unemployment that the disruption of technology brings to one's environment, and
Yeah,
the biggest thing that we emphasized was that it is very important to stay ahead of the curve, to know what is going to happen 5 years from now. And I made the example that if we were knowledgeable, or we were 5 years ahead 5 years ago, so 5 years ago
yeah,
before this year 2020, which was what, 2015, if you had known what was coming, for example, in 2020 in terms of technology, you would have done the necessary upskilling, necessary, um, necessary changes around you, because the reality is most jobs will require you to do some sort of upskilling, just so that when new systems around you in your company or in your business department get inputted or get
yeah,
involved, then you already are on top of things because you're knowledgeable of what's happening. So and honestly, look, no one is to blame for this change. It's just how our world goes and how it revolves. But you know, it's very important to stay ahead of the curve and know what's coming and to
yeah,
prepare yourself in advance. And it's unfortunate that in our country we don't have access to resources as much as we should to enable
yeah,
us to be able to always stay ahead of the curve and always know what's happening, always keep learning. Because with some
yeah,
people, the challenge they have is that you know they don't have access to internet, they don't have access to funds to register for a course, so it's just a middle ground that we find ourselves in sometimes. So
yeah.
so yeah,
No,
and
yeah.
yeah,
No,
you
I
were
think
saying.
it's also a very systematic thing that we see. Our country does not have the best of pasts. You know, if we look back at the Industrial Revolution, where countries like Britain, they had the advantage of being able to start the Industrial Revolution. You know what I'm saying? While we are adopting it, it's like I said, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing where we have our own African issues and we need to fix those things kind of in a way in which it's fitted for us. And as opposed to having a tailored solution for an economy that is well in its maturity and
Mm,
we still need to grow as an economy. Like we're saying, we are still a developing nation, and some of the issues like poverty is an issue. So you know,
yeah,
we still need to work on those kind of things, and corruption is not doing us any favors as well. We need to, I think, change our ways in which we do our things. We need more accountable leaders in terms of going forward if we are going to participate in the fourth industrial revolution. You know,
mm,
it is said that coding is kind of should be a 12th. How many languages? We have 11, right? 11 official languages. So we need to have the 12th official language that needs to be coming into play, like your coding. And we don't want to lag behind, and we don't want to play catch up anymore to what is happening in the world. We want to be at that forefront where we say that our economy is mature enough to take up these technologies and use them to the benefit of the people.
yeah. And and I think one of the questions that we've had, or that we ask ourselves is, who or what determines an industrial revolution? Because sometimes you feel like
Yeah,
someone just wakes up in the morning and says, "Hey, okay, I'm announcing from today it's the fourth industrial revolution." And
yeah,
and to answer that, it's the advancement of technology.
yeah,
When there's rapid deployments, when there's new solutions to ongoing problems, and there's new technology that comes, and a faster way to do things, that's when, it pushes the world in a direction of something called of a new industrial revolution. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we can also think of what can we look forward to in terms of the fourth industrial revolution. What is the thing that we can look forward to?
Yeah, I believe, like I said, I'm an optimist. I believe moving away from a neoliberal kind of an economy to where an economy that's based on the basic human needs of people. But we also can look forward to amazing technology that will help people in many ways, the health sector, the banking sector, even you as a person, personally, you might even enjoy the benefits, just the cool idea is having things like a smart home where you come into home and it's already the temperature is already set based on a wearable device that you have. The
Yeah,
mood is set already for how you might be feeling if you're stressed out coming from work. The mood is already set up for you to be more relaxed when you come into and you come home. So it's a great new world that we can face and we can go into. But
yeah,
like I said, there is a need for responsibility in terms of what we do with these technologies.
yeah. I think the biggest
Yeah,
thing that we can look forward to is having time on our hands. We're gonna have so
yeah,
much time to to go back to doing what we love and doing,
yeah,
that one business that you've always had at the back of your mind, or that side hustle. It's gonna alleviate more time on our hand, and I think we've seen a bit of that with this time that we're in currently of COVID-19, that technology has aided us to be able to work from home, and also also
yeah,
giving you some time to really work. And I think going forward with fourth industrial revolution is that we're gonna have more time on our hands to do what we love, honestly. And for me, honestly, that's the one thing that I'm looking forward to, actually.
yeah, yeah, and time to be creative as well.
Mm,
Time to dream and really think of what you can do for yourself in the future. So yes, technology is great. It's gonna be something that we look forward to, and I think we're gonna enjoy the benefits of those technologies, with of course keeping in mind that we can afford those technologies, and we are able to just adopt those technologies for ourselves, and it's not for the select few that might be there. So no,
mm.
definitely looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna be able to be more creative. I think we've lost our creative side as the human
Yeah.
race. And we've
Yeah.
become so, I don't know, you could say streamlined. And we've lost touch with doing things with our hands and
Yeah.
tapping into the creative side specifically. And I think that's also another thing that in this new type of living or working, and having a lot of the heavy lifting being done by technology, it's gonna enable us to be more creative. And I think it's gonna be an interesting time. And as we
Yeah.
know, when it comes to machines, that's something a machine can't do. And we're gonna find that those are probably gonna be more jobs that are gonna be available going forward, that are related to creativity, because you can't, teach a machine how to be
Mm.
creative. You can just teach it to do repetitive type of work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. But with creativity as well, you can teach a machine or a robot to write a book, so they can
That's
write a
not
book for you.
creative.
It's possible. It's possible, especially AI
Yeah.
technology. It's possible that you can have a book written by an artificial intelligent machine, or have an artificial intelligent machine make music for you. You just put in you put in the melody, and then it just creates the whole symphony. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Yeah, I'm
it's
sure
gonna
you're
be
gonna
crazy.
up, That's what I'm hoping. So
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
and do you think it so going on onto what the fourth industrial revolution allows us to do. It I think it's going to allow us to really work on um, getting digital education to rural parts of the country that
Yeah,
that are not really exposed to this digital world. And I think having um, this time in play, we'll be able to rectify getting that type of technology and access to digitization in rural
yeah,
areas.
yeah. No, I think the more we have these technologies and the more exponential they are, generally I guess they can be more affordable, and we can provide them to people who are less fortunate. You know, the thing that I'll always allude to is that the digital divide might be there as well. We're rolling out 5G technology. Will people in the rural area have access to 5G technology? I mean, we see it with fiber. Some rural areas, even some townships, don't have fiber as yet, and but we have it, in more affluent communities. So yeah, it's gonna be something that I think of because it's like having somebody having the latest technology and you still using a technology of a decade ago.
Yeah,
So it's still a divide. It's still a divide where people are still catching up to what's happening. So like I said earlier, that we might still be facing the digital age problems in a fourth industrial revolution.
yeah. And for everyone on the live, just let us know, what do you think of the fourth industrial revolution so far? Are you positive about it, or are you maybe on the negative side? And how does it make you feel, knowing that there's so many things around you that are changing
Yeah,
and that probably will never be the same again? So yeah,
yeah,
just let us know there in the comments. And I think it's also going to be very interesting, because imagine the ability to also get education to anyone and everyone, and
yeah,
it's not going to be the thing that only people that have access to digital devices can access the education system. So I think for me, fourth industrial revolution will allow us to also reach people more, specifically from an education perspective, because that is one thing that is also lacking in terms of, with us in our countries, that we don't reach everyone in terms of education. A lot of people are struggling, and they are not able to really reach that type of resource, which honestly enables them to get to a better life, and try actually change their surroundings and make things a bit better for themselves.
yeah. Not true. I mean, generally our education system is a bit flawed.
Yeah.
You think about, how what's happening right now. There are still children who go to school underneath a tree. So I mean, let
Mm,
alone we talking about having these technologies come into play. Some children don't have access to proper water and sanitation. Um,
mm,
if you're thinking about how what's happening right now with the coronavirus pandemic, and people are still, just uneducated and they're still lagging behind in terms of what needs to happen in terms of an education perspective.
yeah,
Um, so we still need to fix the country in terms of that. But I guess we need to find a way in which our policymakers kind of are able to bring these flaws together in a way that is not as intrusive and is
yeah,
also very very harmonious with what's happening in our rural areas.
yeah,
Because adopting these technologies might be as opposed to somebody who's grown up with a tablet in their hand and they know exactly what they need to do and how to go about it. And somebody in the rural area might not actually know what to use and what to do. So and we need to really just maybe tackle it at a grassroots level. These some of these solutions and just try and help people overcome some of these things like poverty. So no, definitely, man.
Yeah. And the I
Yeah.
think for me an exciting thing that I'm looking forward to is the use of drones, and specifically
Yeah.
for deliveries. I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to see get
Yeah.
involved in. I mean, imagine because you can track your order on an app, for example, if you have food, and you can actually track the driver and see how far he is, and you can see him coming down your street and stuff like that. So it would be so dope if we could have the same concept with a drone, where maybe you've ordered a parcel and a lot or something delivers to your place, and you can see how far the drone is from your house, and it just flies over your
Yeah.
house and just drops off the package. So I think that's
Yeah.
also a nice way, the fourth industrial revolution will enable us to do certain things.
Yeah, no, it's cool. These are some of the cool technologies that we have. Use of drones, use of self-driving cars, that are able to, see what's happening in and around the road, so it's gonna be an interesting world to live in.
Yeah.
The only disappointing thing is that we don't have flying cars as yet, so we still
But like,
it's,
nagana the accidents a thing because already right in South Africa, but it's with drive. So you can imagine the amount of accidents that are going to
yeah,
be happening. Bomageza, Bajampa, if there will ever even be robots in the sky. you
that's
know?
gonna be That's gonna be interesting. If it happens, it's gonna be very interesting. I think we might go the autonomous way, in which those
Yeah.
cars are driving. So you just get in the self-driving car, and they're just
Yeah.
all alert of what's happening around them. So it might be a cool world to live in, but
No,
very scary
definitely.
at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't think Ngawatla number fixing that is busy flying around in the air. Because I mean, what happens to the car? Had an accident thing. What if the car dies, and it dies in the sense that engineer the so what is just gonna drop down?
Don't count,
you
you're
know,
dead.
Nahad,
Yeah.
so it's crazy. And actually, another thing with drones is that, I mean, imagine what you can do with a drone to promote security and
Yeah.
safety. That
Yeah.
is also very big, where we know that currently, I mean, we have a massive shortage in terms of police force, and them being available the whole time in specific areas. And imagine if you could have drones and cameras attached to those drones, and obviously having live feed go back to the headquarters wherever. I mean, that would really help a lot in terms of safety and security in our country.
No, true. I guess one thing that I'm just wary of is people who might feel if you are able to surveil them with these things like drone, they might feel, the privacy has been invaded. I recently saw was it on a channel somewhere in China, they were taking down security cameras. So people might feel, that their privacy is being invaded. So, but with that being said, I think security can be extremely important in terms of what's going on in the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah,
And it might be improved as well. So, I mean, I'm thinking of how, with the police department, you can actually now start taking fingerprints and running them into a database that is linked to the Home Office database, where if you have a fingerprint of somebody in the crime scene, even if you don't have it, even if they're not the previous offender, you might still have their fingerprint because of they're still registered on the database that is at the Home Office, which is not
yes.
happening at the moment. I believe that's happening. So it can be really, it can improve what we really already have at the moment. So yeah, not
Could
true.
it, could it be that we're like, we are never happy, né? Because you you have that kind of technology where, okay, it's promoting security, but then people are like, no, but
Yeah.
you know, that's in our privacy. So good, we're never happy. We're never happy as people, and you know, that brings us to the end, you know, of our conversation tonight. Thank you so much, man, for joining us again. It was really, really great for having you. And everyone on the live, thank you also for joining us tonight. It was great.
Yeah, no. Thanks for having me again, man. I really enjoyed tonight's talk and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, and guys, if you have any other questions later on after this live, please feel free to contact either one of us and let us know what you think, or if you have any question around the fourth industrial revolution and you know how you are impacted, just reach out to us. We're always available. But thank you again, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
All right. Cheers, guys.
All right. Cheers, man.
Chop, chop, right?
Sure.